Welcome back, players. I'm Jack with 36 Cancel, and this is Coco the Weiss Cat, and today, good things come in fives because we're going to have a look at the Quintessential Quintuplets. This lighthearted, something-for-everyone harem that caught a big dose of popularity features 5, you guessed it, quintuplet sisters who are each getting their own cards for all of you Quints fans out there to collect. For those of you not familiar, Quintessential Quintuplets is about an unassuming, poor, though conceited and off-putting honor student named Futaro Usugi, I think, who, thanks to a need of money to support himself and his little sister, takes a job tutoring the well-off Nakano quintuplets who are all failing their classes for various reasons. And of course, even though they're all the same age and live under the same roof, each quintuplet showcases a very different personality and features lovable tropes that appeal to a wide variety of weebs. You have Ichika, the older sister and adult quintuplet, Miku, the alien, non-emotional quintuplet with a healthy dose of Sengoku geekery, Nino, the tender-hearted inside and crispy tsundere outside middle sister, Yotsuba, the hyperactive and innocent younger sister, and of course, Itsuki, the youngest quintuplet with main heroine and dere energy, even if she sometimes puts up a defensive front to hide her obvious embarrassment. Overall, it's a feel-good, choose-your-own waifu show, and an enjoyable watch or read if you decide to crack open the manga. There's also a movie slated for release in 2022, so how does this shape up into a Weiss set? Well, pretty smoothly in fact, though it's styled a bit differently than most other titles. And even though this is Quint's first release in English, there is a second set in Japan that in all likelihood will be coming to English in the near future. But for now, let's talk about what we're getting in set 1. The first thing to mention about this particular Weiss Schwarz set is that while it's universally traded, it's also very waifu focused. That means that each one of the characters, except for Futaro's cards, each carry the trait quintuplet that also keywords to most of the abilities, like search your deck for one quintuplet character, or if all your other characters are quintuplet characters, do X. So you can play any combination of characters in the same deck and not have to worry about the cohesiveness or missing on abilities. However, there are also plenty of cards that have abilities centered around making waifu decks, like choose a card with Yotsuba in the name, or if all of your other characters have Nino in their name. Of course, with Quints being a choose-your-own waifu style show, the Weiss Schwarz set has plenty of cards that make deck focused around one heroine very easy to build. In fact, Quints is so focused on this idea that in the Japanese release, each girl had their own trial deck. In English, this has been replaced with what Bushi's calling the Quintessential set, which is a playset of all the regular TD cards, with the 25 different TD foils and one guaranteed SP of the 5 original TD SPs in each product. And that's not all each quintuplet enjoys in Weiss Schwarz. Between their individual trial decks and large expansion, each quintuplet has their own level 0 suite, from beaters to brainstormers, their own level 1 combos, and even 102k punches in their own flavors, their own level 1 level assisters with unique combos toward each one of their little packages, and anti-change backups at level 2, and each feature their own unique endgame strategy and support level 3s. Each quintuplet even has cards that synergize with their own individual climax triggers that you'd end up running in their respective waifu decks. Now, being that there are 5 of them, and Weiss only has 4 colors, each quintuplet appears in 2 colors. Itsuki is red and green, Ichika is yellow and red, Nino is red and blue, Miku is blue and green, and Yotsuba is green and yellow. So with all that explained, as we move into the part where I actually talk about the cards, I'm going to do something a little bit differently than my other set showcases. Instead of going by color and level, I'll go one by one through the quintuplets, explaining their packages at each level regardless of color, and of course, touching on the cards they have that are very much geared toward the waifu decks. And just to keep this video from being an hour long, I'm only going to talk about a few cards per level per quintuplet, and as always, since at the time of this video's original editing, we don't have official translations for every card in the set, and the names and text may differ slightly from what I was able to steal from Heart of the Cards. Though of course, because this video is late, like many of my videos, I've done my best to correct any glaring inconsistencies. So just to pick one and get started, we may as well open with Itsuki. As we said before, Itsuki is green and red. Her climax suite, however, is focused around the comeback trigger, with red being her primary combo color. At 0, Itsuki's Brainstormer is a tap self-salvager that only works if you see a comeback or gate climax. Though she also says that when you trigger a gate on attack, you can choose one of your characters and give them +1 soul for the turn. A very strong combo for an Itsuki combo-focused deck. And hey, 8 gate has never been bad. Also at 0, Itsuki has some deck-agnostic tech, like Itsuki Nakano Worst Timing. This has the cowgirl profile, where at 1500 power, when she comes in, you top check, and if it's a character, add it to your hand and then pitch a card, and also you can pitch a character to draw a card. It's a very strong filtering tool and works well with every quintuplet. And keeping on that theme, you have Itsuki Nakano Quintessential Quintuplets, which is a 1k level 0 reverser that also lets you pitch 1 and top check 4 for a level 1 or higher card when she goes to the waiting room from the stage. Now moving into level 1, Itsuki has 2 climax combos. The main climax combo you'd likely play is from her TD, and it's a 5k on attack top check 4 with a gate. Pretty basic. Itsuki also has an on-reverse top stock 2 in green, though it doesn't synergize with much. However, Itsuki's 1-1 assister is the opposite, supercharging everything Itsuki. So first off, it's a 1-1 level assist with 2 other abilities, which is pretty good already. It has a similar ability to the Brainstormer, where when you trigger a gate climax, you can choose up to 2 characters to get +1 soul, but they must have Itsuki in their name. So in an Itsuki-focused deck, you can swing for big damage or precise side attacks. Finally, it has an act ability that if you pitch the level 0 Itsuki top checker that we talked about before from your hand, you can give one of your characters plus 5,500 for the turn. And that's pretty wild actually. Definitely a card that's more focused on the waifu aspect, but a damn good one. As additional tools at level 1, Itsuki has a 1-0 that when you play a gate climax, gets plus 1k and lets you pay 1 to twin drive, and is also a level 1 reverser, as well as a 105k that gets plus 500 for each other character you have, so long as they're all Itsuki. Glossing over the level 2, since besides the anti-change and generic assisters, there's nothing terribly notable, Itsuki has a few support level 3s and a pretty strong finisher. Starting with an early play, Itsuki has an 8500 4 or more early play that top checks X on play, where X is characters for any card, and gets to 11k on your turn with a full stage. Also in a supporting role, you have a green Itsuki that lets you pitch the level 0 top checker on play to salvage a character, and also pay an extra 1 to salvage a climax on play. Also on the salvaging theme, Itsuki has a level 3 in the trial deck that salvages on play, and an on attack lets you pitch 2 and burn 1. And as for her primary finisher, we have Itsuki Nakano in a Yukata. At 9500, she gets plus 500 for each other character on your turn, and also heals on play. Her combo, on a gate climax of course, is that when you reverse her battle opponent, you can pay 2 and pitch 1. If you do, choose up to 2 cards from your opponent's waiting room, shuffle them back into their deck, and then burn 3. 3 is a pretty threatening number, and decompressing before a burn is always strong, so this Itsuki can be a great top end for any Quin's deck, waifu or not. But that's where we're going to put the lid on Itsuki and move on to the next quintuplet, Yotsuba. Yotsuba lives in green and yellow, with her combo being focused in green on treasure or bar climaxes. And while she does have some deck agnostic tech, a lot of her package is very inwardly or Yotsuba focused. Starting with the level 0 though, her Brainstormer could be in any deck. Yotsuba Nakano Quintessential Quintuplets is a tap self-searching Brainstormer that has a second act ability where you can pay 1 and pitch a climax to take any card from your clock, put it into your hand, and then put the top card of your deck into your clock. Then you give a character plus 500 power for the turn. So in addition to being a good Brainstormer, this is actually a really strong filtering ability that can switch anything from events to climaxes should they get stuck in your clock, and also gives you a pitch outlet for climaxes from your hand. I really like this one. However, it doesn't carry her climax-centered theme. Instead, that's on each one's strength Yotsuba, also at 0. It's a back row global plus 500, and when you trigger a bar climax, you can pitch a card and look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose one, put it into your hand, and then put the other into the waiting room. So this turns every bar trigger into a basically 3-card filter for anything you'd want, so it's pretty neat. The rest of Yotsuba's level 0 suite is mostly cards that mill for some generic on-play effect, get a bit of power, or have other mundane abilities, so we're going to move into level 1. Now Yotsuba actually has 2 different level 1 combos. In green on a bar climax, and thus playing more into the Yotsuba package, we have 4th daughter of the quintuplets, Yotsuba Nakano. At 4500, she gets plus 1k during your turn, and with her climax combo, on attack, you do the cigarettes effect, where you mill 2 cards and then salvage a character with up to X level, where X is the combined level of the cards you milled, just like Shizu from Slime, Sally from Bofuri, or Rin from Haddonfield 2. Yeah, it's a popular and somewhat generic effect, but it's still solid on attack advantage on a climax that's easy to loop, so it's the often go-to choice for any Quin's deck. Yotsuba's other level 1 combo is actually on yellow with a win climax. Also at base 4500, she gets plus 2k for the turn when she's played, and then when she reverses her battle opponent, you get the Bunny Union effect, which lets you put the top card of your deck into your stock, and then reveal the top card of your deck, adding it to your hand if it's a level 1 or higher card. Even though it's not Yotsuba-centric, it's pretty decent. Also at 1, Yotsuba has a 4500 1-0 that's 6500 on your turn, and also lets you pay 1 and send her to the waiting room to return any character being front attacked to your hand. and another 104k that gets plus 1k for each back row character, and on attack, lets you pitch a bar climax to give itself on reverse salvage, further adding to your filtering package for bar climaxes. And if you're playing 8 bar, you're going to need that. And that's a not bad tech, but let's move to level 2. And the main card Yotsuba has at level 2 actually has more to do with level 3. Let me explain. Yotsuba Nakano, Intimate Sisters, gives all your level 3 characters in front of it plus 2k, and when you trigger a bar, lets you draw 2 and pitch 2. And she has a third ability. When Carefree Smile, a bar climax of course, is placed into your climax zone, you can put her into the waiting room. If you do, you can choose a level 3 called Yotsuba Nakano Various Charms that's in your hand and put it on the stage where she was. And since Yotsuba doesn't have too much else noteworthy at level 2, we're going to move right into the other part of this combo. So at level 3, Yotsuba Nakano Variety of Charms comes out with a change ability and heals on play. She's 9500 and gets plus 1k if you're playing a deck that doesn't have Futaro in it, which of course, why would it? And when she attacks, if you have that same bar climax in your climax zone, which of course you will, she gets the 2 following abilities until the end of your opponent's next turn. First, she gets another 1k power, and at the start of your opponent's attack phase, you can choose one of their characters, and they get minus 2 soul for the turn. So at the end of the day here, what we have is an early play defensive anti-soul combo. Now it doesn't enjoy the daunting power over other early plays or have protection against effects that make it go away like anti-change or wind triggers. However, it is on a bar climax inside of a toolkit that filters for the stuff you need, including the climax, very well, so it's a compelling strategy. As for the rest of Yotsuba's level 3, you won't find any actual finishers minus a pay 1 extra on play to clock kick, but in addition, Yotsuba has a level 3 that bounces one of your characters on play, and is a bit like Mikasa from Set 1 Titan, that on your opponent's attack step, you can discard a card and switch her with another character and give it 1k. Actually, I'm being told by my producer you have to pitch a climax, not a card, so that kinda sucks. But this is where I'm going to cap off Yotsuba's package and move right along into Nino. Now, Nino's package is a bit more mixed than the ones we've covered thus far. She lives in red and blue and has different combos and support in both colors, with climax combos on gates, pans, and standby. Nino has cards that stand your standby targets during the attack phase, and multiple cards that can restand and attack again. So instead of being linked to a climax trigger, the cards that end up supporting Nino's strategy have effects that trigger when your character stands during the attack phase, which is pretty interesting. But let's get into it so you can see what I mean. Starting with her Brainstormer though, this one's pretty basic. She's a tap self-salvage Brainstormer that gives a character plus 500 when one of your opponent's characters is reversed. It's a pretty innocuous profile and probably wouldn't be your Brainstormer of choice unless you're running a Nino Waifu deck, in which case it's not great but also by no means terrible. However, in the front line, Nino has a pretty good runner. She's only 500 base but gets plus 3k as long as you have another Quint, and at the start of your opponent's attack phase, you can move her to the center middle position of your stage. So not bad. She also has a pretty good beater, which at 1500 gets plus 2k if you have 5 or more cards in hand, and lets you pay 1 to encore her if you have no other surviving characters in your center stage. Again, not a bad deal. But let's move to level 1, because we have a pretty diverse and interesting toolkit here. She has 2 level 1 combos, one in the trial deck and one in the main set. Her trial deck combo is on a gate, and when she attacks, you can pay 1 and choose her and another character to get on reverse salvage. It's reminiscent of the double boomerang spiral combo from Gurren Lagann, but this version with no other abilities on the card isn't that amazing. If you're looking to embrace Nino's stand and standby focused tools, you have Nino Nakano in the Moonlight. At base 5k, her only ability is her Climax combo, which is on a standby of course, and when it's placed in your Climax zone, you can pay 1 and stand a character, and we all know how this is supposed to work. However, admittedly, this version of the combo is a bit bland and doesn't deliver much in the value department. You need the other cards to support this combo, like the Nino, which is a 1/1 level assister with a second ability that when your character stands during the attack or climax phase, you can draw 1 and pitch 1, giving you some adding filtering, as well as powering up your standby targets. Though interestingly, Nino also has some anti-standby tech at level 1 with another back row in blue. All of your other characters get plus 1k during your opponent's turn, and you can rest her to choose a character in your opponent's backstage that has a higher level than your opponent, and it doesn't stand during the next stand phase. Maybe these different strategies both for and against standby are to showcase Nino's 2 very different personalities. Anyway, having nothing terribly notable at level 2, let's move right into level 3 and talk about Nino's support and finishers. Starting it with an early play, in a Santa suit, Nino Nakano is a 2 or less early play healer at base 9k. She does get plus 1500 and hand encore, but only if all your other characters have Nino in their name, so this one is for waifu builds. Moving to a more general Nino tech though, she has a back row level 3, Nino Nakano Intimate Sisters. Everything in front of her gets plus 2k, and when you play her from hand, you draw 2 and pitch 1, and she has another stand support ability where during your climax or attack phase, when another one of your characters stand, you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put them back in any order, and then choose one of your characters and get another plus 2k. So it's definitely in flavor with Nino's standby and stand-up toolkit, as are her finishers, which are really designed to capitalize on this. From the trial deck, we have Barrier to Standing Up, Nino Nakano. At base 10k, she gets plus 1k whenever one of your other characters attacks. And the turn she's played, when she reverses her battle opponent, you can pay 3 and pitch 1 to stand her. So yes, a climax-free restander. Imagine that, Nino's finishers are restanders. Like her main climax combo, sensitive and straightforward, Nino Nakano. When she attacks, you can pay 1 and pitch a red or blue card from hand to heal. And yes, this works exactly how you think it does, because you can do it twice if you restand her with the combo, which is, at the end of her attack, you can pay 2 to stand her. Now granted, all of these restands can get expensive, but the fact that Nino's primary combo is standby, and you get to build more stock with more attacks, you not only can make 6 attacks on your finishing turn, but you can stack your triggers, and hand out a crap ton of power. Overall, it's a pretty interesting and technically cohesive package, but without getting too into technical analysis, let's keep up the pace and move straight into Miku, the quintuplet modeled after that alien girl from Haruhi. I forget her name. Miku's colors are green and blue, though she mostly has a home in blue. Both of her climax combos, 1 and 3, are on pants climaxes in the main set, and even her trial deck combo, which isn't amazing, is still on blue on a book. Though if there's 2 things Miku's overall strategy entails, it's messing with the deck and playing events, though mostly one event. So let's put on your headphones and jump in. Starting at 0, let's have a look at that Brainstormer. And this one's pretty simple. Miku in a jersey is a tap self-searching Brainstormer that when you play a climax with a pants trigger, gives all of your characters plus 500 power, essentially turning your 1k1s into 1k15s if you're playing 8 pants, which, regardless of your Miku purity factor, is a path that could be pretty viable. Overall, not a bad choice. Miku has some other interesting zero tech in green, like Beyond Her Gaze Miku Nakano, with a combination of 2 interesting effects. When she's put into the waiting room from the stage, you can pay 1 and clock yourself to salvage a character, and when she's played from hand to stage, you mill the top 2 cards of your deck, and if you see a climax, you can choose one of your opponent's characters in the center stage and give it minus 1k, an on-death Ricky and a defensive character bomb. Kind of a weird fusion, but without a doubt, toolboxy. Also something a bit strange is Miku Nakano in a Yakuta. She's a base 2k0 that says at the beginning of your opponent's attack phase, you choose one of their characters in the front row and move it to an open position of their center stage. So, a reverse runner. Again, a bit strange, but not totally off the mark. But let's move into Miku's level 1 stuff. And to open, let's talk about her combo, Quintessential Quintuplets Miku Nakano. At 4k, she gets plus 500 for each other character, and her combo is on a pants. When you play the climax and she's in your center stage, you can choose one of 2 actions to perform. Either search your deck for an event called Headphones, or salvage an event called Headphones. And this is pretty reminiscent of the Goblin Slayer Torch combo. And while there is an event called Album of Memories in green that does top check 4 as a backup event, just like Torch, it doesn't synergize with anything in particular. Headphones is a bit different though, so let's check that out. It's a 1-0 counter event where on play you reveal the top card of your deck. Then you salvage an X or lower character where X is the level of card you revealed. Now this feels a bit random, but Miku's 1-1, Heartfelt Miku Nakano, gives it a little more synergy. At 1-1, she gives all your characters with Miku in their name 500 for each level, and each time you trigger a climax with a pants trigger, you can pitch a card and salvage a card in your clock, and then put the top card of your deck into your clock. So it does allow for some fixing and salvaging with climax shenanigans. And finally, once per turn, when you play an event, you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put them back in any order. And given what we know about Headphones, it's pretty obvious what kind of interaction we want here. The only downside is that it can only be done once a turn, so multiple Headphones don't mean multiple top checks. And this Miku only helps other Mikus, or Miku combos, but Miku does have plenty of other good stuff to help. And as we move through level 2 on to level 3, we'll see some good examples. Touching on an interesting piece at level 2 though, we have Sengoku Quiz Miku Nakano. She's a level 2 2500 backup, but she has a second ability. If you play her to the field, and she's reversed in battle by a battle opponent higher than your opponent's level, you can clock swap them. It's rare to see a backup with this kind of functionality, so Sengoku Miku is some samurai grade tech. Now let's talk about Miku's level 3 options. She has a waifu geared early play that comes out early if you have her Brainstormer and Level Assist on the board. When she comes in, you can top check 3 for any card, and she gets plus 2k once per turn when you play an event. Good for Miku decks, but not amazing outside of that. But in a complete 180, we have Miku Nakano one step forward, a finisher that can step all over your opponent. At base 10k, she heals on play and climaxes with a pants. When she attacks, you can pay 1. If you do, perform the 2 following actions. First, put the bottom 2 cards of your opponent's deck into their waiting room, and then burn X where X is climaxes. Then look at the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck, choose up to 2 of them, put them in the waiting room, and put the rest back in any order. So let's break this down. First off, the Icy Tail effect of milling the bottom 2 of your opponent's deck isn't a deep dig, and only has a mediocre chance of even burning for 1. However, the fact that it can, in addition to one of the best abilities at ensuring your damage connects in the game, is what makes this card shine. Top checking 2 on your opponent's deck on attack means that if you see a climax or cancel, you can flat out deny it by sending it to the waiting room. And if you see 2 climaxes, you're going to ruin someone's day. People have done this to me when they play the Moga from Bang Dream, who's famous for having that ability, and it's a bad day. So for Quintuplets, no matter what deck you're playing, people really like this finisher. And that's a strong place to wrap up Miku's package, so we can turn off noise cancelling for now and move right into the last quintuplet. And I know I said at the beginning of this video that I was going to cover these in no particular order, however, I did say the best quintuplet for last. And of course, that's Ichika Nakano, the slovenly big sister with a habit of taking off her clothes. In Weiss, Ichika's colors are red and yellow, but her primary color is absolutely yellow. Like the other Quins, she has a favored climax trigger, which is choice. However, she also has a standby climax, but has very little tech that actually synergizes with it. So let's start at the bottom again and talk about Ichika's zeros. First, her Brainstormer. Habit of Undressing Ichika Nakano has an ability that triggers when you trigger a choice. Reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's an event or character, add it to your hand and then pitch a card. It's great synergy with choice triggers because you can pitch a valid choice target, and of course, filtering is always good. On top of that, she's a tap self-searching Brainstormer. Even if you're somewhat locked into the choice route, it's an absolutely solid profile. Additionally at 0, Ichika has a Darkness clone from Konosuba with a base 2k 0 that, on play, lets you pay 1, clock yourself, then reveal 2 cards on the top of your deck, and add every character you see. Fast tempo and card advantage, pure and simple. Finally, Ichika also has the set's Drop Searcher, which in addition to being base 2k, gets plus 1 soul if it's in the center middle, and for some reason is also a Yotsuba. Anyway, not bad 0 stuff, but moving on to level 1, let's check out the combo for Ichika. In Iakuta, Ichika Nakano is 4500 and gets plus 1500 when you attack with her. Her combo is of course on a choice, and on attack, if you have 6 or less cards in hand, you can top check 3 and add a character. Unfortunately, there's not much to say about this, except that it's remarkably average. Not bad, but nothing that reaches into the realm of outstanding or great. Enjoy it in your Ichika deck. Now also at 1, we have of course Ichika's flavor of Level Assist. 1-1 Owner of the Mess Ichika Nakano gives all your Quin's characters in front of her plus 500 for every level they have. Her second ability, which triggers upon you triggering a choice trigger, you can pitch a character, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose any card, add it to your hand, and then put the rest in the waiting room. Pretty good for getting what you need. And finally at 1, Ichika has a 1-1 that gets to 6k with Hand Encore, and if you play it with 4 or more characters on the stage, lets you stock charge from your waiting room. It's just a generically good level 1. Now like with most Quins, Ichika has nothing terribly notable at level 2, so we're going to move right along to level 3, starting with the Quintessential Quintuplets, Ichika Nakano. At 9k, she gets plus 500 for each other Quin's character you have, and comes out early on 2 or less climaxes in your waiting room. On top of that, she's a stock healer. This is an extremely solid profile, making her a quintessential early play for any Quin's deck that isn't a straight non-Ichika waifu. She also has a secondary finisher level 3 in the form of Ichika Nakano in a Santa suit. When it attacks, you can give a character plus 2500 and plus 1 soul if you have 4 more other characters. Also on play, reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a Quin's character, burn 1. But now, let's talk about Ichika's finisher. Unstoppable Feelings, Ichika Nakano. On play, you can top check 3 for any card, and her finishing combo is this. Pay 1 and pitch 1 on attack, and she gets this ability. Once per turn, when damage dealt by this card is cancelled, burn 2 twice. This is a very low cost for very solid numbers. Effectively, your opponent has to cancel 3 times per attack to stop you from killing them, or at least coming very close. And it's on a choice climax, which is an extremely good trigger to run. It's a rock solid finisher, and a great place to finally wrap up this set showcase. And yeah, this was a big one. Quints isn't the biggest set in Weiss Schwarz, but still, what other set do we need to talk about 5 level 1 and level 3 combos and a ton of other unique tech to 5 different kits? Honestly, I was hoping to have this out before the set dropped, but Jesus Christ, there are just too many quintuplets. And this is not the last of the 5 sisters we'll see. Again, Japan has a second set of quintessential quints that I'm positive is coming down the pipeline very soon. So we'll be back here soon enough going over 5 more kits. But for now, no matter which quintuplet you'd buy a poster of or sleep with on a docky, enjoy the set, admire the wonderful HYRs and SSPs, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.